The city is divided into 4 quarters today. Right here, this area is the Christian quarter, and then behind us over here is the Armenian quarter, and then down below to the left is the Muslim quarter, and then down below to the right is the Jewish quarter. Now what's amazing is that David Street divides the city kind of in half, and then the Cardo divides it the other way. So going this way to the Cardo is the Christian quarter, and then past the Cardo going down on the left of David Street is the Muslim quarter, and then going down this way on the right of David Street is the Armenian quarter, and then down below the Cardo on the right is the Jewish quarter. So these roads that Hadrian built, and they are going to be marking kind of the divisions of the city today. So it's quite amazing. So now we're going to go down David Street here, which was the main road going down to the Temple Mount. Okay, so now we are going to be walking the Cardo Maximus. Okay, so now we're on the Cardo Maximus. Right now there's kind of 2 streets to it. Let's head down this way.
So this used to be much wider?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it used to be somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 20 to 30 yards or meters wide. You'd have your pillars, and then you had on each side of the pillars, and you would have shops on both sides of the Cardo Maximus. Of the Cardo Minor, which was down more towards the Temple Mount, you had shops on one side. And we'll be seeing a mural of that as well. All right, now then over here, these are some ancient ruins. Now these are in various stages. Here is part of the Hasmonean city wall, dating from around 167 to 63 BC. The columns you see are the columns of the western portico of the Cardo that Hadrian constructed, dating to around 135 AD. And the cistern here is from a later period after Hadrian. Okay, we're going to see more of the Cardo as we go along here. Up ahead are some amazing viewing windows where you can look down and see more ancient ruins of the city. Okay, as we're looking down here, you can see the ruins, and these are dating to around 700 to 800 BC. And these would be ruins from the first temple period. Really amazing just to look down in here and see this. Incredible. So when you're in Israel, to see ruins that are 3,000 years old, 2,000, I mean, that's common. So you can see how the Cardo, you would have it a little bit lower, then you would have the steps that go up. So you had 2 rows of pillars going this way, and then off of it you would have your shops. So this was the Cardo Maximus. You can see how wide it was. It was a wide street going through the city.
The columns are very ornate.
Yes, very, very elaborate columns, pillars. These are the original pillars of the Cardo Maximus. So these pillars here are about 1,900 years old, almost 2,000 years old. So this whole Cardo Maximus would be glorious with shops and stuff off the side of it. Then they've got some mosaics here showing life during that period. And we're going to walk up here now, and we're going to look at this mural, which depicts how it would have been. It's a great example of how it would have been. Of course, in a perfect scenario, this mural would be right here, because you can see how it is. These pillars here are these pillars, and then those over there would be these. But you can see how it was. And again, as we pointed out, you can see the columns where the beams would have been to cover the shops of the Cardo. And it was a happening place. It was busy. This is where the heart would be. What does Cardo mean? It's the heart of, right? That's why we get cardio, is your heart. This was downtown, so to speak. This is where the shops would be. This was your mall, basically, at that time. Yeah, they've incorporated a modern day thing there. Yeah, yeah.
That's the real level where it was?
Yes, absolutely. And you can see the original stones there. And then off of the Cardo, then there would be shops, elegant shops. One thing about the Romans, they were master builders, and what they did very fine. They were a very glorious kingdom, and so they displayed that glory through their construction. You can see the original layer here of the Cardo. Okay, so you would have another row of columns over there, a little bit lower, and then up here you'd have a street with your shops. But these are the original stones of the Cardo. These are the original stones, these big ones. These new ones here are later. They're just from modern time. Okay, so now we're coming, there's a large synagogue here. It's the Hurva Synagogue. It was recently built because before 1967, when the Jordanians were here, they destroyed all of the Jewish quarter. And so when the Jews then recaptured, then they were able to rebuild everything. So this is kind of a plaza. And so here's the Hurva Synagogue. One thing I will tell you, that right now there's a institute called the Temple Institute, and their purpose is to make all the arrangements for all of the details of the third temple, the new temple that will be built, in which the Antichrist will go into and declare himself as God. Right here's a synagogue. I'm going to show you something. You see that menorah there? That is solid gold.
Oh, wow.
And that will go into the new temple. The Jews' desire right now is to build their temple. Where do you think they want to build the temple at?
Mount.
Temple Mount, right where the Dome of the Rock is. How is the Dome of the Rock going to be able to come down and then build a temple there? I believe it's the Antichrist who makes this peace treaty that this Antichrist makes with the nations for 7 years. It's very likely that that peace treaty will include the Jews being able to build their temple. But right now, the Jews have everything they need to build the temple. They have all of the garments. They know who the high priest is. They have everything they need for the temple to go. And that temple could be built in a short time.
Is
They have all the layout, they have the architecture, they have everything. All they need is thumbs up and bang, that baby goes up. Yeah, anyway, that is solid gold. What's that? That will go in the third temple.
Is that where the red heifers that
Yeah,
are now
yep.
here?
Yeah, now they have the red heifers. Those are now in Shiloh. We might be able to see them when we go there on our tour. Okay, so you can see the debris here from Sukkot, the Feast of Booths. So now Sukkot is over. So now they're going to tear all this stuff down. All of their Feast of Booths, all the temporary tents and stuff, they're going to go ahead and take down. All right, so now we're going to go see Hezekiah's broad wall. And that is one of the most amazing stories in the Bible. It's so important, this story, that God has it in 3 places. He has it in Isaiah, he has it in Chronicles, he has it in different books of the Bible because it was so important. I'm going to go right over here. Okay. So, this is how the story goes, all right? In around 700 BC, the Assyrians are conquering the northern tribes of Israel. At that time, the nation was divided in 2 parts. You had Judah to the south, then you had what was called Israel to the north. You had roughly about 9.5 tribes to the north and about 2.5 to the south. The Assyrians were conquering city after city after city. And so Hezekiah, who was a king, and he was a godly king, he led one of the greatest revivals that Israel knew. Anyway, there were refugees that were just flooding from the northern part of Israel to Jerusalem. So what he did is he built this wall rapidly, and it was wide. That's why it's called the Broad Wall, because when archaeologists found it, they just named it the Broad Wall. But it encompassed the western side of the city of Jerusalem, because the refugees were just basically living out in the open, and Hezekiah wanted to protect them. So he protected them, and then he also diverted the water from the Gihon spring through Hezekiah's tunnel. He built a tunnel, you guys walked through it yesterday, down to the pool of Siloam, so that he could keep the water inside the city. So he was getting all ready for the Assyrian conquest. Sennacherib, who was the king at that time of the Assyrians, then went down around the south and conquered all of the cities in the southern part of Judah. Jerusalem was the only city left. Assyria had conquered everything. They were the world power, and they were atrociously mean when they conquered. They would put the fear of Assyria in you so that cities would just surrender in countries rather than fight. And so anyway, he comes up and he tells Hezekiah, I'm going to come conquer your city. And Hezekiah goes and prays before the Lord, seeks the Lord, and the Lord heard him. And then God sent an angel and killed 185,000 of the Assyrian troops in one night. So God spared Jerusalem. Later, unfortunately, in 586 BC, the nation would fall. They had these cycles of up and down and walking with the Lord and not. And so then in 586, when the Babylonians came and destroyed Jerusalem, then the Jews would come back 70 years later, roughly, and then rebuild their country again.
Does it know how
high or how deep? It's pretty well. You can see the bedrock here. Basically, you see where the windows are? That was the height of it, of this broad wall. And he just built it really fast. In fact, it says in scripture, in some places he had to just build it over some homes. Some people just had to move out so he could build this wall. They built it in a hurry because Assyria was coming and he wanted to get ready. So everything he did was quite quick, but he didn't have to do it because God spared him, which is a great lesson for us, is that we trust in the Lord. We trust in the Lord. So anyway, they've discovered this, and it's quite amazing. They've renovated it here and made access to it quite nice. Okay, well now we've got another special thing on our agenda. We're now going to go down towards the western wall. We're going to see part of the Cardo Minor, Then we're going to see part of the southern stairs. Then we're going to see some of the western wall. So we've got some amazing things coming up. So we're going to make our way down to the western wall area. So I want to point something out here, this sign. In Hebrew, there's a term called aliyah, which means literally to go up, but it's a returning home. So that right now there's a huge movement of Jews throughout the world that are returning to their homeland, to Israel. So this is a real estate company helping them get located. Okay. Thank you. So, good teaching lesson here. In the time of the Bible, then when you went up to the temple, there would be people that would be beggars. They would ask for money, right? Now, they're not going on the Temple Mount, but this is where the main access going down to the Western Wall from a Jewish community up here, the Jewish quarter. So, in the same way that in the time of Jesus or before, then people would beg for money, then today they're doing the same. Okay, so here you can see part of the Temple Mount, part of the Western Wall. Okay, step on over here. We're going to see more of this later, but you can see the Western Wall here. You can see the Dome of the Rock. That's where the temple would have been. We're going to go down here and see the Cardo Minor, though, and then part of the southern stairs area. Then we're going to walk back up along the Western Wall here and see all of this. So we'll be down in the Western Wall area. You recognize this spot, Joel? This is where we did a teaching about the different feasts of the Old Testament and how Jesus fulfills them today. Okay, so we're going to go down. We're not going to go into the Western Wall area. We're going to go outside of it because we're going to go down here first and see this Cardo Minor. We can see the original stones of the Cardo Minor.
So this is the Dung gate.
Correct.
Is it on purpose close proximity to the temple because of the sacrifices that they would have to do?
Yeah, that's part of the reason. Also part of the reason is that in the time of Jesus, this was called the Tyropian Valley. Yeah, there was a valley that actually went down through here, so then it followed the lower part of the city. So it was a natural drainage area to begin with. Okay, this is the entrance into the Davidson Center Archaeological Park. We're going to take a right here, and we're going to be seeing the Cardo Minor. So the Cardo Minor means smaller. So there was the
Here's original.
right over here are original. Yeah, these are original. Yeah, these are original here. So these old ancient stones are the original of the Cardo Minor. So there was the Cardo Big Maximus, the Cardo Minor Small. So you can see how the Cardo Minor had shops just on one side. The Cardo Maximus, big one, had shops on both sides. So, and this one ran close by to the temple because on the Temple Mount, Hadrian built a false god temple.
How are they able to preserve this? Because look at it, it looks good.
Yeah. How can they preserve these stones? Well, they were buried for a long time, but then also these stones, this is limestone, when it gets exposed to the elements, it becomes hard. It just lasts forever. It just lasts forever.
So when it first excavated, it's softer and they can work it?
Yeah. Limestone, when it's underground, it's softer, moist. They can chisel it, it's quite easy. Then when it gets above ground and exposed, and it will harden. It's kind of a God's kind of cement form, really.
Right.
It's just miraculous, really, when you think about it. Okay, well, we'll walk down here, and we're going to step out now. We're going to go through the Dung Gate. We're going to step down, and we're going to see the southern walls and the southern archaeological area. Quite amazing. Okay, we'll go right over here. Like again, we're seeing all these amazing sites. There's so much history here. But the gate right here is called the Tanner's Gate because right in this area was a meat area where you'd buy animals and stuff like that. And so the skins and stuff from these animals, then these tanners would go ahead and tan. They would preserve them, make tents and all clothing out of leather is basically what it is. So anyway, this is called the Tanner's Gate. And then right over here is the Dung Gate. So we're gonna walk right over here now and we'll go out the Dung Gate and we're gonna go down to the Southern Stairs Archaeological area. It's called the Davidson Center Archaeological Park. Over to our right is the Gavati parking lot. It's called now the Gavati Excavations. It's just right above the city of David. And they have found archaeological remains just going way back in time. It's probably one of Israel's most excavated sites going on right now. So the city of David is behind us. And this is what's called the Ophel or Ophel. This was the space in between the city of David and the Temple Mount. So there's the Temple Mount wall. And then you can see 3 gates over here. Those were the Huldah gates. Those were the gates that went up into the temple. Then over to our left were some other gates just below the southern stairs. And that's where you would exit the temple. The only time that you would go up through the exit is if you were in mourning, and that would let everyone know that you are in need of compassion or you're in a state of mourning. And then people could show you mercy and help. So they discovered here ruins going clear back to the time of Solomon and beyond that time. There's also in this area around 48 mikvah, or the correct way to say it would be mikvot in Hebrew. Those are mikvahs, that's for ritual cleansing. So in order to go on to the Temple Mount, you have to be ritually pure. So a lot of people would purify themselves in the pools of Siloam.
Yeah. Watching you every time.
Oh.
Oh, I want to greet you. I'm happy for your program.
Oh, you're
my
welcome.
pastor. Sir, can you greet my people? Let's have the back
Okay.
here from the Philippines. Sir,
Okay.
please.
Okay, hello. I'm Todd Fink from the Holy Land Site YouTube channel. And you find folks in the Philippines, we love you. Thank you for watching so much. We're so grateful. We hope and pray that God really uses the teachings and all that we do for His glory. So we hope and pray that you are strengthened, that you walk with the Lord, and that you put Him first in your life, and your reward will be great. So thank you, and God bless you.
In such a time as this, thank you, Pastor. Thank you, brother.
Well, wasn't that special? Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord that God is using our humble service to Him. So then we had the southern stairs that ran all along here. They were also called the rabbi stairs. Why? Because the rabbis would teach their disciples on those stairs. It is extremely likely that Jesus taught His disciples on those stairs. So anyway, very, very important access. 48 mikvahs here, because in order to go to the Temple Mount, you had to be ritually pure. How would you become pure? Obviously by confessing your sins, but then you would have to go down into a mikvah. A mikvah is a pool of water. You'd go down one side. There would be steps going down one side. You go down and get clean. Then you come out the other side, now pure. So you go in unclean, immerse yourself, come out, and now you're clean. Now you can go up on the Temple Mount, because you can't go on the Temple Mount being unclean. That is the worst sin you can do. You have to be clean.
And the water came from Shalom.
The water for here, it would be water that came from Bethlehem through the aqueduct that Solomon and then later was built that supplied the Temple Mount. There are cisterns underneath. It had a massive amount of water. But from the north, then you had the pools of Bethesda we talked about. They're on the north side. Those were living water pools that were made by diverting water from the Kidron Valley up higher and then bringing it to the pools of Bethesda we talked about. Also another pool there called the Pool of Israel. The amount of water that Temple Mount had is really staggering. Had no lack of water, had water coming from everywhere because it was important to have that. Jerusalem is on a mountain, it's 2,500 feet and roughly around 900 meters in height. And so it's cooler up here. You get a lot more rain up here. And so yeah, they had plenty of water. They had plenty of water. Okay, well, man, quite amazing. Okay, well, let's continue on. Okay, well, that was cool down there at the southern stairs area, right? Okay, right up ahead of us here is the Dung Gate. It's been redone here recently. It's a main access to the Western Wall area. But we're going to be seeing some rocks. We're going to be seeing part of the Western Wall excavation. So we're going to step up here now through the Dung Gate. And we're going to see some of this amazing stuff. Okay, let's step over here. And I want to just show you some of the things here. This is Davidson's Archaeological Park. And the southern stairs are on the other side of some of these buildings that were built out here. Those were mainly from the Crusader period. But anyway, there's this wall and this rock road that we're going to see in a future tour here coming up in a few days, where the rocks fell down from the Temple Mount when it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, and it's actually crushed the street. But this is the southwest corner of the Temple Mount, and on the very top up there, there was a stone that has fallen down that's been discovered that says to the trumpeter's house. So that was where the trumpeters would blow to the shops and to the area below that the Sabbath's about to start, or the whatever feast, whatever holiday. Anyway, that has fallen down. You can see the Herodian stones over there. You see that arch? That's called Robinson's Arch. Anyway, that was the main access to the Temple Mount. Then you had the southern stairs. So this is the Western Wall. There's part of it where the Jews pray at, but the Western Wall technically runs all the way from here all the way to the end of the Temple Mount. It's the Western Wall of the Temple Mount platform. This right here is the southern wall of the Temple Mount platform. All these buildings you're seeing right here were from the Crusaders and other periods that have been added onto the south face of the Temple Mount platform. Okay, so now we're going to go up here. We're going to go through security because we're going to go on to the western wall area here. So you have to go through security. They treat it like it's a synagogue, but because it's such an important religious area for the Jews, they secure it.
Okay.
Because also what you'll have periods where you'll just have thousands and thousands of Jews here. So if you get a terrorist or something, they could do huge damage. So we'll go through security here. It's quite simple. There's a guy's side, pardon me, and there's a woman's side. Okay, you can see the woman's side. So the women will go through that side, and the guys will go through the other side. Okay, so we made it through security here now. So we're going to head on up here. We're going to be looking at the western wall. We'll actually go down to the western wall, and we'll look up close at the stones. We'll see the prayer notes in the stones. There's also a synagogue that we're going to be going in. The gals can't go into it, the ladies can't, but the guys can. And so we're going to be looking at that as well.
Oh, I see that they dismantled.
Yeah, they're dismantling that.
The holidays.
Yep. Sukkot is over. The Feast of Booths, the Feast of Tabernacles is over. So now they're going to dismantle all that. So yesterday was the last day of Sukkot. So this right here is the women's side right here. And then over here is the guy's side. We're going to be going over here shortly. So let's walk on over this way. So this is the Western Wall Plaza. And so right up here is the Western Wall. And so we're going to go down here now and check out the Western Wall. So the ladies can't go down into the men's section, but you ladies can, if you want, you can step over there. The guys, we're going to go down here and check this out shortly. Okay. And so why don't I take yours, and then you and Medium can go over that way, and we'll go over this way. Okay. I'm going to do some filming here. So as we're approaching the Western Wall here, you can see different layers. You can see the lower stones. Those are the Herodian stones from Herod's building time, 37 to 4 BC. And of course, then the construction continued on after him. But the lower stones, these massive ones, are from the Herodian, and they'll go up. You can see where the Herodian bosses change, and then you're going to go into the Muslim periods, and then you're going to go up above into the Muslim Ottoman period at the very top, and Suleiman the Great in that period. So you can see the stones big all the way up to small. So we're going to step over here, and so the Jews, this is the closest, largest area that they can get to the Temple Mount. Some are going up on the Temple Mount now, but they have to walk around the perimeter. But most Jews, this is where they're going to come to. This is as close as they can get publicly in a large meeting area to their temple, to the Holy of Holies. And so they believe if you put papers in the rocks, that God will hear those. And these are facts from all over the world, and people will put them in the cracks here and pray. You can see these papers in the stones here. And of course, over on that other side is the women's section on the other side of the wall here. So now let's head on over here. We're going to go into this synagogue. It's really quite impressive. They have libraries. This is where they'll come and study. There's the Mishnah, these different writings that they have. here was an arch, and there was a road that went over the top of this up to the Temple Mount. So this is actually an arch that you're looking at right here. Went up to a road was up on top of it to the Temple Mount. And it's up above here where this aqueduct from Bethlehem would come to supply water on the Temple Mount. You can see a lot of old construction here. So they converted all this underneath here to a synagogue. Of course, here you have all these writings, these libraries. They're very studious. And the Mishnah and these different writings are like commentaries on the Torah, the Old Testament. Some people believe that the Jews forgot where their temple was. You think the Jews forgot where their temple was? They were commanded not to. They were commanded in the Old Testament not to forget. You forget me, O Jerusalem. So they did not forget where their temple was. They wrote about it, documented. Okay, now we're exiting this synagogue and we're going back out along the western wall. You see the ramp up there? That's the general access now, the only access for the general public to the Temple Mount. And there's restricted hours when you can go up on there, usually in the morning for about 3 hours and in the afternoon for about 1.5 hours. But the Muslims have a lot of different access points where they can enter any time. Yeah, the Jews have given for peace. The Jews are always trying to make peace. And so they're trying to make these agreements to appease. And so they have given the Muslims the basic control. I mean, they police it and everything, but they've given them control. But they're getting more and more freedom to go up there. But there's a lot of tension. When the Jews go up there, they're escorted with police.
Okay.
They have to stay in the lower area. They can't get up anywhere on the platform that's raised above the Temple Mount because that's where their temple once was. They can't get too close to the Holy of Holies or it's like God's going to kill them.
Is that a special ceremony happening up there?
Yeah, there's, you can see up above there, there's a Jewish ceremony happening up there. Now, so we're in the times of the fall feast. So the fall feast started with the Rosh Hashanah, which is their new year. And then you have Yom Kippur. And then you have the Feast of Sukkot. So you have these successive holidays that are kind of back to back. Really last almost for about 3 weeks. And so we're right on the tail end of them. Okay, well, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Pretty special. This is a real important place within the Jewish quarter here. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and God bless.